Pretty Little Liars, the television series, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And boy, do we have some problematic topics for you today.
Yeah. First and foremost, check that content warnings. We're going to be talking a lot about transphobia.
Yes.
Right up top and probably throughout the rest of the episode. So if that is something, I don't know, if you don't want to hear it discussed, if it's like triggering in that way, then, feel free to exit here.
We understand.
Exactly. Because it's going to be an unavoidable topic. Probably not so much in episode 9, but I can't say that we won't talk about it. So,
yes.
But boy, boy, howdy.
Looks like we made it.
And it's different than what I thought it was going to be from just seeing Cece's name in the Barry Maple line there.
What did you think it was going to be? That's probably way better than what it is.
I didn't think that they were. I'm like, I don't know if they'll do a full, like, I didn't think that Cece's narrative would be a full, like, look at how, like, she was mistreated by her parents, like, trying to be sympathetic and like a real, like, trying to be sympathetic, but they're, because I don't really have much problems with that in isolation. It's just when it's taken as a whole with everything else.
I think this comes off the same as when, in a different comparison, obviously, but when a man writes a woman and he tries to make like a story that's sympathetic to women, but like doesn't actually understand what it's like to be a woman and still puts her in like a villainous or like a bad role without understanding the implications of that.
Yeah.
That's how, like, I was like, I've read books that make me feel this way.
You're totally at the last second trying to backwards map when this character has already gone well beyond any sort of, like, sympathetic readings.
Yeah, the kidnapping and putting them in the dollhouse thing, like, that's it. The end. Like, you don't get to come back from that.
No. And, yeah. And
Silence of the Lambs doesn't have a redemption arc. You know what I mean? Like,
right, which is yeah. It's a whole separate other thing. So, well, we might as well. We'll just talk. I think it's probably best to just get the 100-pound gorilla, the elephant in the room, out of the way, and then we can just talk about the rest of the episode. Both the episodes. Episode 9, I liked. Episode 10 is just a mess, even beyond this. I think it's just structurally, it's a mess of an episode.
I told you were gonna hate it.
Yeah,
it's like it's just wait. So we can talk about it more when we get to it. But I think of nothing other than like this show is so grounded in reality. Mostly, A does shit that you're like, there's no way. But for the most part, it's grounded in reality. And then we go to A's secret Tony Stark laboratory that looks
exactly
like a fucking modern or like a new age toaster.
Mm-hmm. And then a hologram screen.
It's like a Jetsons toaster for Tony Stark's technology with a hologram screen.
Totally. That's the exact same thing that like Tony Stark would be doing in his little thing, like moving his hands around and a screen appears in front of him. But
there was no reason for that.
No, it should have just been a TV.
And I remember watching this episode and being like, why the fuck is this happening?
I wouldn't have blinked if it was just a giant console on a wall, like a giant computer that just takes up a wall.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have
or a bunch of
twice.
Monitors and then it zooms in on the one that she's on.
Yeah.
Like
when Fitz has his little underground layer and he's got all the monitors.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
And like, cool, okay, make it pretty and girly, like do something fun with it. That's fine. Like decorate comfy cozy or decorate it like a dollhouse. Like there were lots of ways to make it creepy and still like, something that's interesting, like make it look like Arya's dad's study or something like that. Right. You know what I mean? Like you could do something fucking weird with it that didn't have to be
2001.
It made me think of when we rode Dinosaur in Disney World. And when you go through the part that's like the part that puts you in the past, it's like, we're not going to make it. And it looks like a toaster. That's all I could think of.
Comparisons to Dinosaur. Oof.
If you've never ridden Dinosaur in Disney World, there is a it's like Indiana Jones if you've been to Disneyland, but it's got dinosaurs instead, and it has some of the dinosaurs, one of the dinosaurs in particular, it's just the head, and then it's like a black curtain, and it's just like it was
It's
made in the
brontosaurus,
90s.
so it's got
I
the
think
long neck.
it gives off the we phoned this in the 90s vibes.
I think it was when
80s?
we looked it up. No, like 2001. So right on the edge of the 90s, where
Okay.
things are 90s, because that's when the dinosaur movie came out.
Oh. But regardless, sorry,
Yeah.
back to the topic at hand. It's just like that's what it made me think of, and I was like, that's a weird place to go right now.
Yeah. Whenever you're thinking of dinosaur, that's not necessary. As aesthetically, that's not a
That's not a
great
compliment.
yeah, and then not even in the ways where it is compliment. But so the big thing here is that we find out that A/Charles is actually Cece Drake. So we find out that Charles is a trans woman, and I'll just be going by Cece the rest of this time. Feel free to like drop a line, but my reasoning behind this is that she seems to choose her name as Cece when she like comes outside and she meets Jason for the first time. And when she checks back in under Charlotte, we don't get confirmation, but that seems to me like something that Jessica is doing. I don't know if the character starts being called Charlotte going forward, but my reasoning is it seems like she chose Cece, so I would go with her name for that. But this is a big problem because there's a long history of trans people being portrayed on film as like killers, murderers, like violent, like mentally unwell being the underlying thing of all that.
Yes, that somehow being trans is the mental illness and like the catalyst for this.
Mm-hmm. And also that a lot of TERFs and a lot of TERF thinking is that trans people are the aggressors and that they will be the ones to like attack you. Like this is a line of thinking amongst TERFs.
Yeah, and we don't need any more fuel to add to those fires. So even if a storyline like this was well-intentioned and poorly done, which we can't say either way. I mean, that's what the interviews come off as well-intentioned and poorly done.
Yeah.
A misguided intention too. But either way, it was still in the wrong. Like it was still absolutely fucked up. Yeah. So I've been waiting for this. Do you know why I knew that movies have that storyline and that it's not a good thing? So when I watched this for the first time, it was 2015. Brenton and I had just moved in together. We had both just graduated. Well, I'd just graduated college. He'd graduated the year before. We'd been dating for like a year-ish, year and a half. I don't know. We moved in together, and I was watching this, and I watched it, and I was so upset. And I went to Brenton, and I was like, "This is so fucked up, right?" And I couldn't really I just knew it felt wrong, and I didn't have the kind of education or language or experience that we do now to understand like how to really articulate that. And so I was like, oh, this was, and he was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Like I had just listened to this How Did This Get Made episode about what movie was it?
Sleepaway Camp.
And explained this whole concept to me. So I've literally told Brenton how this story ends 9 years ago.
I didn't remember.
And I have been waiting anxiously, hoping he did not remember for the last 2 years. And I kept being like, oh, I'm pretty sure I've told you how it ends. Like when we first started doing this, I was like, oh, he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember any of this. And I kept waiting, thinking maybe he had it in his back pocket. Like he was saving it, to be sneaky. But no, you had no memory.
No, I had
zero. And I
memory.
would be offended, except that I don't even know if I told you what show it was. I was just I watched this show and I was so upset.
You might have told me, and I would have been like, whoop.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't matter because then our conversation became about that because I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. So for context, Sleepaway Camp. This is big spoilers for the entire movie. It's a horror movie about kids at a summer camp. Kids keep ending up dead, and it's centering around this girl that people oscillate between trying to sleep with and severely bullying. And then like I said, people keep ending up dead, and it's revealed at the end that she has male genitalia and has been killing everybody. So when I was also looking this up too, that there's some thinking around this also, because in that movie, it's a forced transition. The people that adopt, the people that her parents that take care of her are making her be the daughter, her sister that died. So there's different thinking on like what people find okay about that movie too. Another prime example, the one that immediately jumps out to me, as ridiculous as what I'm about to say is Ace Ventura, the very first movie. You find out that the person, it's just ridiculous, but it's severely mean. You find out that the main perpetrator of the whole thing is Ace Ventura's boss, and she like used to play for has again male genitalia, and so the entire like sequence at the end of it is extremely mean spirited thing. Like he finds out that she has a penis, and so then there's like an entire scene of him throwing up into the toilet, and then the like whole climax is like him like trying to like reveal like tearing off her pants,
a movie I'm glad I missed.
Just like embarrassed. Yeah, no need to watch it. The only funny thing about the entire setup of the movie is that she is trying to get revenge because she used to be the kicker for the Miami Dolphins, and is it Dan Marino? Yeah, held the laces the wrong way, and so they missed the kick. I think like that premise is actually pretty funny. Everything else,
it did not need
up. Yeah. And also just for context of like where we are at and where we are at now of like 2015. So 2015, another weird thing I'm going to say is like transness and trans people were having like a spotlight and like a general reckoning in the United States. Laverne Cox was on Orange is the New Black, something that completely missed me because
we just didn't watch it.
Exactly, yeah. But she's a prominent character on there. And then Caitlyn Jenner transitioned, like very publicly transitioned.
With I Am Kate. I Am Kate was on, right?
And so that was like a big thing of like getting people out there. And of course, trans people were like, yeah, this rich white woman transitioned. They were still rubbing the wrong way, but there was that like feeling of at the time that people's minds were changing and there's things like that. So that's where this kind of slots right in. Marlene King even says something in the interview you sent me, I think it was with BuzzFeed, where she talks about, she's like, oh, this stuff is having a limelight. We had planned this already. Wow, we're playing right into it, but we don't want it to come off like it's like chasing a fad or something, but wow, this is a conversation we're having right now. So Marlene King's aware of this and aware of what she's doing with the show. But again, you're playing into these like extremely harmful stereotypes. And I don't think any matter of the like backwards mapping that they do onto Cece of like trying to make her sympathetic works, because Cece has kidnapped these girls and tried to kill them.
Yes.
So she is an aggressor. And then the way she talks about all of them as dolls, she dehumanizes them all. And I think it really plays into this twisted thing of
like reclaiming her girlhood.
Yeah, from like other girls. And then so like you can like extrapolate from that. It reads to be like this person who transitioned is trying to like take away the girlhood that she wasn't given. And I think there's something interesting that you can maybe pull there, but in a way where you're not pulling this out of your hat like in the 11th hour after like all this severe stuff and playing into like dangerous stereotypes around transness. I don't think that's like a bad thing on its head of trans women not being given the girlhood and childhood that they would have wanted. And I think what also bugs me about it is that Mr. De Laurentiis, we're only told that he didn't support her. We don't get any of that on screen.
No.
We don't get any of her because they have so much to because they have to tell you what the hell is going on. And they've created this like convoluted story that it just subsumes all that. So you just get Cece telling you secondhand and then looking at the camera being like, I would never let someone hurt my dolls.
Yes. Yeah, the whole thing it's just gross and poorly done and unfortunate.
And just for like this happened in 2015, but it's not like things are like better in the United States here. There was a record number of like anti-LGBTQ plus legislation brought about in 2023, mainly targeting youth, like puberty blockers and things like that. There's a specific term that I make sure I pulled up here that are shown to be safe and are available for cisgendered and straight children. But like because there's the Republican Party and like conservatives at large in the U.S. are largely targeting these things because it's much more well known now, and now it's a talking point. And when I mentioned TERFs being seen as aggressors, noted TERF herself, J.K. Rowling, uses this, has talked about this. She talked about that she could write about transness and trans people as aggressors in her books. And she said she had written a letter in response to her book coming out in 2020, which featured a killer, or like a cross-dressing killer, quote unquote, that she spoke from this as a sexual assault survivor. So, you make the connection there, which she also has a 2014 book these are both from her pseudonym, Robert Galbraith. I don't know how to say it. Where that one also features not a trans killer, but just like a dehumanizing portrait of a trans person. So trans woman.
Well, and even if you read the Harry Potter series, women who are described in masculine terms are always the villains. They're bad. Rita Skeeter. I believe Rita Skeeter is described in like quote unquote masculine terms. It's throughout her.
Books, got it. Yeah.
She's gross and she ruins everything.
Very much so. So sucks to have to bring up here. But yeah,
we live in.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the context of the show, so we gotta walk through it. And I thought it was best to, I think it's good we get all that out of the way now so that we can talk about the
ridiculousness
of just the plot points.
That's what what's really hard about this show is like there are things that they do that you were like, oh my God, who approved this? Why did this happen? This was planned for years. Okay, no. And then there's things that you're like, why? Who came up with this? Like, there's things that are so ridiculous and funny that you're like, okay, like, how does someone come up with this? And then there's things that you listen to that you're like, why would you say that?
Right.
Why would you write that? Why would you put that in here?
Absolutely. Where did you get that idea?
Yeah. It is wild.
Yep. And then, so just some final thoughts on that. Statistics: trans people are 4 times more likely to be the victim of a violent attack. So portraying them as the aggressors is just morally incorrect and factually. And then gender affirming care was the word I was looking for, which is like puberty blockers, hormone therapy, surgeries. And again, so like something like breast implants or something like that, which we like normally frown upon as for like kids in like high school and stuff to get. Cisgendered women are able to get that, but like trans women aren't. So, you can feel about that however way you want, but that just the facts of like that it's not equal access, or there are steps being taken to make sure it's not equal access. So. Ooh, all right. Well, should we get into episode 9, which has some hilarious stuff with the mothers?
Yes. Fun fact: you'll never find out how they got out of that basement.
It's so funny.
It's never going to be explained to you. You will never know how they got out of that basement. Who found them? How'd they get out? So I don't think it's mentioned ever. I mean, like, it's mentioned, but it's not mentioned,
Right. They were just stuck in the basement forever. 2 weeks later. All right. So season 6, episode 9, episode 129, Last Dance. The parents take turns telling the friends, minus Allison, that they can't attend the prom. Veronica offers to host a small get-together in their backyard. We also hear that they can't attend a commencement either, and Spencer's pissed because she spent all this time writing her speech. I'd be
mad too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They told you had to write a speech, and now they won't let you go.
Like, what the hell? All 5 friends catch up with the brew, annoyed at not going to prom. Allison wonders who they would even hang out with at the actual prom beside themselves, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's true. Aria left Clark 5 voicemails to try and follow up with them, and hasn't heard back. Lorenzo comes into the brew and gives Allison a bad look, and Allison is sad. Allison gets a text from a blocked number that says, you better attend prom. It'll be our last chance to dance. Signed, Charles. Fitz sees Aria trying to leave Clark a message and asks if the police should be following up, not her. Aria uses Andrew as an example of why not to go to the police yet, because, like, hey, I really dragged his name through the mud. Ella comes into the brew and says Aria won first prize in the photo contest. And that comes with cash prize and an internship in LA. It starts 1 week after school. Arya asks what happens if Charles isn't caught by then. She can't leave her friends, and he's still out there. Elle and Fitz unsuccessfully talk her down. Fitz asks Arya if it would help if he was there, and seeing as it's not like the actual, if it would help if he's there at the prom, the fake prom, and since it's not at the like Rosewood High, he's okay to come. Caleb is,
Which shows you exactly how inappropriate this relationship is. Oh, but if they're just friends, why can't he just go with her as a friend to the prom?
Feel a little weird, huh? Caleb is heading to New York to meet his dad. Confirmation, he made it out of Ravenswood. That was my first thing. I'm like, Caleb's dad lives. Hannah is upset he's not going to be there for the Hastings prom. She notices in his bag he's got a heavy-duty laptop and asks him about it. Caleb lies and says, my dad wanted me to bring it. He's a big tech guy. Emily is hanging with Sarah and asks her to prom. Sarah's like, ooh, my old school has a prom at that same night, and I already told Claire and my friends that I'd go. And Emily's like, oh, it's okay. Toby's going to work, and Spencer comes up running on the street saying, they can't suspend you. Toby's like, it's not your fault. It was my choice going to the arcade. And he's like, maybe it's for the best. That freak knows we're on his trail, and we'll catch him whether I'm on the force or not. Lorendo steps out, and he's suspended indefinitely, too. Toby goes in to see how much trouble he's in. Emily's at Hannah's house, and Hannah steps out to try and figure out what Caleb's up to. Ashley comes in with a bracelet that's hers and was hoping Hannah would like to wear it to prom tonight. Emily says probably not. No one's getting dressed up for the backyard prom. And Ashley asks why Caleb isn't coming. And Emily's like, he's in New York. You know, we're all just kind of scattered. Ashley tries to encourage her to dress up and feel special no matter what. Hannah comes back in and says he's definitely trying to hunt A himself. She tries to call again and he doesn't answer. Allison gets a call from a blocked ID. There's no sound, and Allison asks if it's Charles and says she can't go to the prom. The call ends, and she hears a twig snap outside her window. Spencer meets Lorenzo at the brew. She asked him to come there to talk about Allison and said she didn't think it through stealing your ID. Lorenzo said, ever since I came back, I always heard about how she's a master planner, and I shouldn't have trusted her. Well, her plan wasn't very good. We talked about this last episode.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
What they do with Allison is kind of like character assassination to me, because I'm like, she's supposed to be a fucking girl boss.
They declawed her.
Yeah.
Spencer says, I've been used by her in the past, but she's changed and she needs you. Lorenzo says, I think she got what she needed and I don't see her the same anymore. Spencer asks if he can forgive her and he says, not yet. Spencer then invites him to the barn prom. The moms get their food ready ahead of the barn prom. Their own food, not the kids' food. They hear a loud noise and wonder what the hell it is, and then it turns out it was just Pam parking.
Oh, Hannah, right?
It's actually so Ashley's like, I think that's Hannah parking, and then Pam walks in.
Oh.
And then Pam's like, oh, I didn't get any good gossip from the cops. The moms try to abstain from drinking until Veronica pours herself a glass of wine. Allison walks into the backyard as storm starts brewing. We see a person in a red coat and a mask watching from the bushes. Allison then runs out of the backyard as the person in the red coat and mask follows them. Barn prom is starting and Hannah pesters Toby on what Caleb might be up to, and Toby's like, I have no idea. The moms all drink wine and dish about the De Laurentises, and Veronica almost tells them that Jason isn't Mr. De Laurentiis' son.
Oopsie poopsie.
Until the next scene. Until she's had, approximately another half a glass. Arya gets a confirmation of her flight Arya sees a confirmation of a flight to LA on Fitz's phone. I thought it was on her phone when I was writing these notes. Emily dishes gossip on the actual prom and Noel's date because they're looking at Facebook and whatnot. Arya wonders where Allison is, and Emily says she likes to make an entrance. You know her. At actual prom, it's like Fairy Tale Woods theme. There's a giant hourglass in the middle. That's pretty cool. Allison arrives and looks around.
Your summary? Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It is. Oh my god, giant hourglass. That's pretty fun.
No, it's really cool. It's pretty, but that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, I forget what the character's name was on Comedy Bang Bang, but Neil Campbell played like an art critic. And so spoke like an arts. It's like, this painting, it's got like the colors and the artists and the things, it's very good. And did that like a million times.
Funny.
It's so good. Okay, we see lots of people in red robes wearing masks. Oh, it's the servers. How will we ever find our culprit? We see Clark as the photographer for the dance. What is he doing here? Barn prom is consisting of looking through people's photos at prom, and they see Allison in the background of a photo and realize that she's there to try and meet Charles.
Like, what a fucking idiot. Like, Allison, Jesus.
Caught in 4K.
Ends up on Instagram. Like, good God, girl.
Master planner. Veronica tells the moms about Peter and Jessica. Veronica says she can't spend time in her backyard without being reminded of Jessica, and that's where it points out where the dog dug her up. Pam's like, I forgot about that, and Veronica's like, well, some of us can't. Pam wonders if they should check on the girls, and Ashley's like, we should actually just check on our host. The girls are fine. Cut to the girls not in the barn and at the prom.
They go so far in this episode. They travel
really
a lot.
They really hoof it. Arya stops Clark asking why he's there. He's like, oh, someone on the prom committee saw my pictures and hired me. Arya's like, well, my friends saw you at the doll factory. What were you doing there? An adult woman then comes over and tells him to take photos of someone else and tells Arya that her and her friends need to leave. The audacity to tell this to a kidnapping victim. Allison gets a text from Charles that says, don't look for a wolf. Seeing red is enough. Time is slipping away. ... The friend... That's my own reading. The friends find Allison and go to get her from across the crowd, but then they miss her. The moms all think Veronica needs to slow down on drinking. Veronica's like, it isn't enough that Jessica tried to steal my husband, but her son buried her in the backyard. Pam wonders if they can't pin everything that's happened on Charles. Maybe it was actually her husband, too. Veronica says, maybe we should ask him, and grabs her car keys so they can go harass Mr. De Laurentiis.
Her house keys, because they live next door.
Oh, right, her house keys, not car keys.
Yeah, they're not driving.
Next door, yeah. What am I thinking? Hannah, Spencer, Emily, Toby, and Fitz find Allison, and Allison says Charles texted her and let her know that, and she tells them all she knows what she's doing. Emily looks around and finds Sarah there. Sarah stopped by the barn and it was empty, so she figured that Emily would be here, and she just wants one dance with Emily. The moms show up at the De Laurentiis house and find that the door is open and the house empty, and they all go inside. Veronica shouts for Mr. De Laurentiis, like, I know you're here. Pam sees his scotch on the table and an envelope for evidence. Inside is a photo of Jessica and her two sons. The moms turn around as Reese walks in the door. Remember him? Allison goes to walk into... I had completely forgotten this happened, by the way. Allison goes to walk into a maze. Spencer tries to stop her, and Allison says the text wasn't threatening. Maybe, like, sorry. Allison goes to walk into the maze. Spencer tries to stop her, and Allison's like, the text isn't threatening. It's okay. Don't pretend like you even like me anyway. I'm not leaving until I find out why Charles hates me. Caleb surprises Hannah in a tan suit with an ascot.
Oh, his little outfit.
Yeah, it looks like he's like vacationing in Miami. He was in New York with his dad, though, but he tells Hannah that he can't tell her about it. He says, one dance and we'll talk. This is the suit that Hannah chose for him, by the way. Reese asks the moms if Mr. De Laurentiis is here and asks if they are part of the De Laurentiis family. Veronica asks what he's doing here. Reese says he's from the Karasibi group and has some questions for him, but he'll come back another time. Ashley waits until he leaves and tells all the moms Hannah's theory on him and the Karasimi group being connected to Jessica. Ella thinks that he's Charles. Allison walks up to a server and asks if it's Charles, and the guy's like, no, Dominic, and hands her a drink. Arya and Fitz dance and wonder why Clark is here. Spencer and Toby dance, and Spencer wonders why Allison would think she didn't like her since they spent all this trying to help her. Sarah tells Emily she means a lot to her. Arya tells Fitz she needs to go to LA alone and that she saw his airline ticket to LA. He's like, oh, it's my layover on my way to Thailand. I'm joining Habitat for Humanity. Arya's like, I think it's a great idea. You need to move on. And Fitz is like, oh yeah, that's such a good idea. Spencer tells Toby that her speech was about loving someone unconditionally and says she wrote it about Toby, and they kiss. Allison walks away and Spencer realizes that they lost her. Let's take a moment to dance. Oh, shit.
Oh, we got distracted. Me trying to keep track
she
of
did it again.
Of anything.
The master planner strikes again. The mom...
My ADHD ass just can't keep focus on the task.
Throws car keys in front of you.
I'm like, oh, glitter?
Right. The moms want to look around for more photos of Charles to see if Reese is Charles. They hear noises in a vent and think it's coming from the basement. Veronica says, that's where he is, and they go charging down, and the moms follow. The door shuts behind them and locks them in the basement. Allison sees a red coat go into the maze, which is standard for Rosewood High dances, and then goes to follow.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
There's always a maze.
There's always a maze.
Anna stops Caleb and asks what he was doing in New York. Caleb's like, well, I was getting a job, so they could both move there together, and he's going to be an information risk analyst for a company, but he can't tell Hannah what the company is. Hannah kisses him. I thought he was joining the CIA. I was like, oh no. The moms stuck in the basement are freaking out because they don't have any phones and they have no way out. Allison gets a text that says, "My, what big eyes you have. Use them. Time's running out." She sees a red coat standing in an archway and goes to follow. Clark goes to follow, and we see that he has a pistol. The friends all go to follow him. The friends find a dead end and confront Clark. They grab Clark, and he says, he's like, "I'm a police officer." Clark says, let me go. Let me go and do my job. It's already too late. Turns out he was undercover. Emily says, "You really had no idea about this," to Arya, and Arya's like, "No, I really didn't." Emily's like, "Well, at least you were safer than you thought." They all couldn't find Allison as they walk. They all can't find Allison as they look through the maze. Allison walks through the maze until she arrives at a clearing with a red coat. She sees that it's just on a branch. She receives a text that says, "Now it's just the two of us," and a hand grabs her from behind. Toby says he and Clark called for backup. Lorenzo shows up at the dance, and the friends say they can't find Allison. He's, dressed to like dance, not in police.
Because Spencer invited him to the barn, and then he went to the barn, and they weren't there, so he assumed they went to the prom.
Yeah, and Spencer tells him, "Thanks for coming." The girls and guys go to the split up to look for Allison. The moms are still stuck, and Ashley wonders how their daughters even got through stuff like this. And Pam is sad they couldn't even do their one job tonight. She doesn't know how hard they failed. The four friends find Allison's phone. We see Allison in a hooded figure behind the set of the dance, and Allison says, "Please talk to me." The hooded figure goes to remove their mask, but we don't see their face, and Allison says, "Oh my God." The end.
Ben. All right. Do you think they should have been barred from prom and graduation?
Well, that's so rude. They treat them like the worst people on earth. That teacher that just comes up is like, "Yo, go take pictures of someone else. You and your friends need to get out of here." They're kidnapping victims. Jesus Christ. They should have brought him in, and they should have had, if any other like respectable school, they would have like taught, like it would have been like a big deal, and they would have been like, "I don't really want a big deal made out of this," but it would have been like, "Wow, look at them coming back. They overcame like this like horrible trauma, and look at them dancing around at prom."
Also, like, should you even be hosting a prom if there's like a known local kidnapper? And like, why, like, do you really know why the kidnapper picked those four girls? And would they not pick someone else that's at that prom? Was Mona allowed to be at the prom, or was Mona not supposed to be there either?
Because Mona was only in mask and robe. So maybe not.
Mona probably wasn't supposed to be there either.
Yeah.
But they didn't invite Mona to their little prom. Maybe they...
It's just rude. I think you know someone.
Well, I mean, she didn't hit Anna with the car.
That's a little, that was in the past. I mean, how long could she hold on to that? Okay. I'm sure she's done paying the hospital bills by now.
Why did Charles want to meet Allison at prom? Like, nowhere else would work? Couldn't meet at like a 7-Eleven?
Okay, the thing also that just occurred to me is like...
Go somewhere where you could be seen?
Cece didn't need to do this because Allison loves Cece.
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm back in town. Meet me here."
Yeah, that's at the end. Uh-huh.
Allison, like, got Cece an airline ticket.
And gave her fake passport.
Yeah. No. Cece even could have been, "Hey, meet me at prom," like she did
She met her at a different dance. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Also, how are these adults getting into the prom? Is no one at the door? How are these girls getting into the prom? Like, every school prom I went to, there was like teachers at the door, and they checked your ticket, and they checked your school ID or whatever the fuck, you know. You had a form if you brought someone who didn't go there. You couldn't bring anyone who was over 21 as a date.
5 years before this, we had to go through a security checkpoint and got breathalyzed on the way in.
I was never breathalyzed, but they randomly breathalyzed. I think they just assumed I wouldn't be drunk.
Oh, Emily, sweetie. Yeah, they had problems with that in previous years, so.
They would breathalyze, I think, they'd pick certain limos.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they'd like randomly select limos to breathalyze before you could come in.
That's really good. But yeah, we had like I said, 5 years before this, we had way stricter security, and they're just like waltzing in.
There's a known kidnapper in the community.
Rosewood really needs to. Rosewood doesn't care about the kids.
If you
see the meme of Michael Jordan, it says it's a picture of Michael Jordan. It says "Fuck them kids."
Oh, yes.
That's Rosewood.
That is Rosewood. Should Arya go to LA if they haven't caught Charles? I mean, now we know they have, but
No, probably not.
yeah, I wouldn't be. I'd be like, I don't know where the fuck to go.
And they're like, go, be free. Worst parents. I mean, the moms are like, we don't want to bug them and then go on our own little adventure because Veronica gets too drunk.
That's true. That's true.
She's like just running off and they're like, oh God.
They were on a little scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think Caleb's dad actually lives in New York at all? Or was it just he was using the cover of his dad? Because when Hannah called his dad, he said he hadn't seen him. So he hadn't actually gone to visit his dad.
Oh, I thought he said at the thing, he's like, I did go to visit my dad and I had a job interview. Maybe maybe his father is still stuck in Ravenswood and my hopes are dashed against
That's
the
why
rocks.
I was like, I'm not certain. It's not a major plot point. I just was like.
Do you think he actually, I like to hope that he didn't become a ghost. He's not trapped in the afterlife there. I like to think that he's in New York. He's having a ball. Caleb's dad deserves this.
Let's talk about
after deceiving his son for many years.
It was like, why are you giving this man?
I had forgotten before I started that, and in the middle of it, I remembered that he pretended to be his uncle for his entire life. Right? Yeah.
Should Lorenzo be with Allie? Should he forgive Allie? Should he have shown up at the prom? Is it going to get him back on the force? How did he get into the prom?
Showed his badge.
No, but he doesn't have his badge. He's suspended.
Right. And also, you would need the form of like, this is a man I'm bringing to prom.
An adult man with a job.
Exactly. Yeah, if they're, didn't you say over 21 or something?
Yeah, ours is over 21.
How old is Lorenzo? Like,
and I think if you brought anyone who didn't go to the school, you had to fill out a form, but you couldn't bring anyone over 21.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't allowed.
Uh-huh.
So you could only bring like up to 20. And even then, I think, they preferred for you to like, keep it.
Lorenzo, you should know better than this.
But yeah, if you brought someone from a different school, you had to fill out a form too.
We just thrown it right out the window. Anybody can date anybody in high school, huh? This show needed the time jump because it's like, oh God, we don't have them at school anymore. They're like real people, but like they're not anymore. So we need to figure this out quick.
Mm-hmm.
So bad. But imagine if it's like, oh, Officer Lorenzo, they're in a tux. He's like there with one of your classmates.
That's so weird. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's small towns.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, Rosewood is knocking it out of the park with that one.
Let's talk about parallels to the first episode for this one.
Oh.
That one scene with Allie is really like reminiscent of the first episode because she is standing in front of the barn. It's a stormy night and she is wearing yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Her prom dress is yellow. I thought that was very fun.
No, yeah, that is cool parallels.
And she runs away. So it's the same thing. It's that she shows up. She's supposed to be going in there with the girls. She disappears.
The friends have to go find her.
So they're like, God damn it. Once again, she's
House
missing.
gets in trouble. And it all connects back to that first night anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Or not that first. Well, the first night for the show, chronologically.
Yeah. The longest night of the year.
Boy, everybody was busy.
Allison did more in that night than I have done in my entire life. Who do you think killed Jessica?
Oh, we don't get a confirmation of that, do we?
No, that's why I was thinking about because they talk about it could have been, like at the time Pam is like, oh, maybe it was Charles.
Right, but it doesn't seem like,
or maybe it was her husband.
Right, and it doesn't seem like Cece would actually want to.
No,
Cece doesn't have a motive in that because Jessica does cut her off.
Mm-hmm. Never forgives her.
Yeah. She seems sad about that Jessica was dead. Because she finds
Jessica. No. She finds Jessica, so she can't have killed Jessica. Well, I mean, I guess she could have, but...
Mm-hmm. I was trying to remember that piece. She finds Jessica, then buries her, right?
I can't remember who killed Jessica, to be honest. There's so many deaths on the show that like if you gave me a test even after doing this podcast and you like listed names and who killed them, I couldn't do one of those like match things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Be like, it was Wilden with the the car in the in the marshland. Like I wouldn't have any.
Yeah, Wilden's back alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy. My best guess would be Sarah.
Okay, Sarah Harvey.
Yeah. Because I don't know where else we're kind of
Bethany's already dead.
Yeah. Sarah would be connected. We have no idea what the connection is really with Sarah and Cece.
That's a question I have for you for the next episode. I got a lot more questions for that one.
Because it's just like, yeah, she like helps me out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Okay. Why was the De Laurentiis house empty and unlocked?
Why indeed? He's just out and about, Keith.
They're like, there's a cop in front. It's fine.
Right. Where's my daughter? I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, where is he?
Uh-huh.
Where is he?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait, no. He's
kidnapped.
No, he's kidnapped.
Yeah. So I guess Cece left the door unlocked when she took Jason and...
Yeah, might as well.
Also, she knocked them out, like gave them the paralysis drug stuff, and then dragged their asses there by herself?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she's strong.
Cece goes to the gym.
Yeah. She's really trained dragging fucking not dead bodies, practically dead bodies around all over the place.
Why
I guess she would have Sarah's help.
Oh, that's true. Why is Sarah looks like she couldn't, like, she's a little... Yeah, she's a very svelte woman.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Reese...
You should see how much she's cleaning, though.
She wins the CrossFit Games every year. Why is Reese in the De Laurentiis house?
It's such a funny explanation.
Like, I had a question, like, so I showed up at his house?
Yeah, he probably was just like, this is weird. He's like, this account hasn't given me a problem until now, so now I'll just come in and check on this. Something's up. Reese is just as suspicious as everybody else. I find that very funny. It's like, yeah, they just hired someone really good.
Who looks like Jason.
Yeah, exactly. Cece just hired someone that's just like really good at his job.
Will and should Ezra go to Thailand?
I think he will. But, yeah, go to Thailand, I guess. Be free. I mean, it's kind of funny because he's, I think he will go to Thailand. Should, probably. Arya's being like, peace, I'm out to go take pictures.
What do you
go
think
to college.
He's going to do in that?
In Thailand?
Oh, wait, I guess I'll wait and save that for my time jump question in the second.
Oh, if he comes back dating Nicole? Right? That's her name?
Nicole, yeah.
Yeah.
You think he'll come back dating Nicole?
Uh-huh. I moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And Arya's like, I have too. These 5 years? 5 years?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You'll be excited about who she dates.
Okay, good times.
Who locked the mom in the basement? Sarah or Cece? Someone else.
Let's see. What's everybody doing at this time? Cece's at the dance. So is Sarah.
Wasn't Sarah at the dance with Emily?
Yeah.
I guess we don't know the timeline.
Yeah, maybe Sarah locked him and then gotta book it over.
And one final question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does Arya ever know a person she's dating? Like Lorenzo was not Lorenzo, sorry.
Clark.
Clark is a cop.
She has one.
Jake was exactly who Jake said he was.
That's right. He was a karate man with a heart of gold.
Oh, I miss Jake every day.
Yeah, me too. Because even Holden, it was like, well, I'm doing secret karate tournaments.
So I can go to my secret karate tournament.
Because I have a heart condition. Man, she loves a man in martial arts, let me tell you. She sees a man in a gi and she's like...
Well, I don't think she actually likes Holden. I think they're just friends.
Yeah. I guess romantic interests.
That is what I have for you for this episode.
Okay.
Are you ready for Game Over, Charles?
Yeah. Season 6, Episode 10, Episode 130, Game Over, Charles. The 5 friends all run through Radley and onto the roof. We see a hooded figure standing on the edge. The police all show up at the ground level. The friends all try to talk them down. Hannah even says, we heard your story, we understand. They go to jump and they all scream no. Earlier that night, Hannah tries to reach Allison's house phone and gets nothing, but we do hear that the moms are still in the basement. Sarah shows up and to the friends at prom and says, the guys and Clark are talking to Tanner. She has a lot of questions for us. Arya notices a red coat move through the maze and they go to follow. They see the maze part. Like it's two, like the little partitions of the maze just come apart. And they end up backstage as a red hood rounds the corner and we see it's Mona. She was tailing Allie since yesterday morning, but lost her when they all cornered the cop. And then, what is it? Oh crap, I didn't write it down.
Arya's like, oh, you knew he was a cop, and Mona's like, you might have thought he was just happy to see you, but I knew that was a gun in his pocket or whatever it was. You know,
it's great.
It's cute.
I was all for it, and she kills the line reading, because she just does like the eye roll, like I was saying it. It's very good. Mona's tablet goes off. She says a bunch of techno babble and is able to try to triangulate that Charles is using their own cell network and the servers are at the Karasimi group. They all run to Allison and Sarah says she's going to call Tanner. We cut to someone in black dragging Jason down a hall. Allison wakes up in a cell with pictures on the wall of Jessica and Allison, but with Charles's face pasted over Allison's. Allison sees her dad outside of the cell. Is he unconscious or dead? The friends arrive at the Karasimi group and see that cops are outside loading bags into a van. Or not cops. It's people are loading bags into a van, right? Or is it the cops?
It's I don't know who it was.
They hear sirens approaching, so they all go inside. They try to break into the locked room that Spencer remembers, and Sarah's like, oh, I got a cupcake when I was in there on September 7th of every year. And that September 7th is the code of the room.
That wasn't suspicious at all, Sarah.
Yeah. How did you know the date? And find that there's this whole sci-fi layer that they step into. They step into 2001. Sarah is the only one who didn't follow them in. The other 5 get locked in. So it's Mona, Emily, Alice, or Arya, and then Spencer and
Hannah.
Thank you.
I was like, you forgot Hannah.
And in the middle of the room, there's a big tablet table, and it lights up with a big red light. So again, this looks like Hal in 2001. A hologram turns on, and we see a live feed into Allison's cell. The big tablet allows them to see...
Is it a cell or is it the room at Radley?
Oh, because it had bars, I kept putting cell, but I think it's the room. The big tablet allows them to see different angles. So there's different camera angles they can play with. We see
Fun.
Jason. I know. We see Jason and Mr. Dealer just passed out on the floor. We see that Charles is inside Allison's cell, and they turn around and we see it's Cece who says Jason and Mr. De Laurentiis aren't dead. Allison then tells Cece she did everything to help her, and Cece's like, "You gave me a passport and a plane ticket. I hardly call that helping. We're running out of time." She sings. I don't know the actual name of the song, but I think of it it's from White Christmas, our favorite Christmas movie. The Lord help the mister who comes between me and my sister. Into the camera at the girls, and then their friends are like, "Oh, she's calling us out." Cece tells Allison that they never understood how much she loved Allison and loved her like she was her own doll. Flashback. Baby Allison is crying, and Charles tries to call down to his mom in the yard, but Jessica doesn't hear. Charles then goes to start the bath for Allison to help her because it'll make her feel better, and then puts her in the tub. But as we know, this is the story of Charles putting Allison in the tub when the tub was too hot, and it scalds her, and then Mr. De Laurentiis
and also she's drowning.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. De Laurentiis comes in and yells, "What's wrong with you?" And we see... Also, it's like weird. We see like the young version of like Cece's smile. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. and Mrs. D.
I think it's supposed to give you the like, oh, they've always been a little crazy.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Which just throws everything off. Yeah, we'll come back around. Mr. and Mrs. D then leave Cece in a room at Radley and say that they and then Jessica turns back and says, "I love you." In the present, Cece says, "I never meant to hurt you, but Dad used it to get rid of me. When I was young, I always wanted to wear dresses, and Mom would let me play in the closet, but Dad found out." She says Mr. D and Jason can hear them. They just can't move. She, like, tranked them with something. Mona says, "That's what Cece did to me. Like, it's terrible." And they all feel bad for Jason, but agree they can't muster up any bad feelings or sympathetic feelings for Mr. De Laurentiis. Cece says mom visited sometimes, and Aunt Carol came a couple times too, but was mostly alone. Whenever Allison got an outfit from Jessica, Jessica would also buy Cece the same outfit. We then get a flashback of young Cece on the roof with Bethany in a dress, and Bethany compliments her. Cece says they need to come up with a great story to get out of Radley. They then see, God, Mrs. Kavanaugh come onto the roof, and Cece's like, "Oh my God, Bethany, she can't see me like this, because bad things would happen." And it's like, you got to help me, and goes to hide. And we see Bethany push Toby's mom off the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bethany goes, "You pushed her, you freak." What the fuck? In the present, Cece says, "No one believed me. Jessica paid off Wilden to make sure Toby's mom's death was ruled a suicide." Cece got a new diagnosis, but it should have been Bethany that got the new diagnosis, not me. I got all tranked up on drugs, and then all the doctors almost killed me because they tranked me up so bad, like almost drowned on my own spittle. And the doctors felt bad for almost killing her, so they let her out. But they let her out for Charles's funeral. And she and Jessica buried them at Aunt Carol's, quote unquote, and then Cece got taken back to Radley and then checked back in as Charlotte. A motion sensor goes off, and the girls change the camera, and we see that the cameras are that. Then they notice that the cameras they're inside at Radley. We see another red coat rigging explosives to blow up Radley. Cece said she couldn't trust anyone after Bethany, so found a way to escape Radley without ever leaving, which is really fun. I found a way to escape Radley without a ring, and then we see that Cece's in books. I just I don't know. It's a little bit on the nose. Wow, I could go to all these other places. Flashback. Jessica visits Cece, and the board granted Cece permission to attend classes at UPenn. In the present, one day Cece called in a bomb threat at UPenn to get away from class. Back in the flashback, Cece is at Rosewood and meets Jason, who is immediately enamored with her. Cece introduces herself for the first time as Cece Drake to him. Back in the present, Allison is floored by this, and Cece's like, "I know it's weird, but we didn't do anything. He's my brother."
Oh no, it's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Also, he was bringing you on vacation, but you guys didn't kiss or anything.
Right.
And didn't. Okay, I need to go back because I can't remember. Does it show them kissing when they go to the bar and Allison meets Ezra?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good point.
She's there with Cece and Jason.
Yeah, they don't have a good. This is exactly the problem. The other problems that are layering in with the whole Cece thing.
The incest of it is really just a whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Cece then takes time to admire herself in the mirror. Jessica didn't know that Jason was dating Cece until they left for Cape May. Flashback. Jessica grills Cece outside her house about how dangerous this is and that she's been running around with her children. Cece's like, "I am one of your children." And Cece then learns that Jessica told Mr. De Laurentiis that Charles was dead. Cece says, "You did that for yourself to cover up your dirty secret." Mr. De Laurentiis pulls up in his car, and Jessica has no choice but to cover and pretend. Back in the present, Allison is shaken by this because her and Cece were so close. Cece says, "I was going to tell you the truth, but Bethany ruined everything. She found out Jessica was having an affair with her dad and lost it. She stole Cece's clothes and snuck out of Radley and was going to hurt Jessica." And we see Cece approach her from behind as Bethany's going to go to the house, and it smashes her over the head. But actually we see that it wasn't Bethany approaching the house, it was Allison. And then we see this is the scene where Jessica was looking out the window all shocked. Jessica buries Allison and yells at Cece, who's crying over hitting Allison. In the present, Cece...
No one checked her pulse?
No. We just immediately go to burying in the backyard. Cece breaks down crying in the present, and we see Mona is crying too. Mona's like, "I killed Bethany. I was sending Allison threats."
This part is so out of pocket.
It truly is. It's like, "I was sending Allison threats, and that night she had an opportunity, and she was following Allison, Mona was, and saw an opportunity and saw a shovel and hit her, but then finds out that she had hit Bethany." She's like, "I killed an innocent person," and Spencer's like, "She wasn't innocent.
And she wasn't dead."
"No, you didn't kill her. My sister did.
My sister buried her alive."
The chickens are fully coming home to roost in this episode in baffling ways.
I think Are they chickens that came home to roost, or did we somehow end up with turkeys or something else? The whole thing is just a fucking mess.
The more that it's like unpacking this, like, my God, why did you feel the need to explain all this? We'll come back around to the article where
people really wanted answers and were like desperate for them, and so they're like, okay, fine. And I'm like, well, put them in the story. Don't just like throw them at us.
Right, exactly.
God.
Allison says Jason said he saw you wearing my yellow top, and he's like, he may have saw you, but he didn't see me. Flashback. Jessica pays Wilden off, and he says, you weren't, and Wilden says to her, you weren't Rosewood tonight, and neither was your daughter. Cece's like, they'll never let me out again, and Jessica says, maybe it's for the best. Cece says, I understand if you never want to see me again, and Jessica says, give it some time. Cece hugs Jessica before being loaded in Wilden's car. Back in the present, Cece says Jessica never totally forgave her. The friends pull up an investment chart at the office and found out, wow, that's how she invested super well. And Reese is just like actually a real employee of Karasibi and like did all these investments for her. It's the funniest thing. They have to be like, okay, we need to explain how Cece was able to afford all these traps. She's great at it. She's great at investing and hired the best in the business, Reese Matthews.
Well, but like the mother knew about the business. I don't know. It's a whole thing. It doesn't make any
so then
fucking
Jessica
sense.
was also. You don't need to explain this. You can just let us twist in the wind. That would be fine. I don't really care about that.
Once you get the answers, it's almost worse than not having them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to Pretty Little Liars, baby.
Yeah. There's just like, why do we need to know? Why do we need to know? Cece.
Or have a better answer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Having a better answer would make this all better.
Yeah.
I like answers. I like when answers make sense. I like when answers were planned or figured out before you decided to finalize.
Yeah. Well, they had the Cece one, but then everything else that they added on the top of it was like, just, yeah.
But Cece didn't work because from the beginning, she had dated Jason. So like from the beginning, that plot line shouldn't have ever happened. Like, like they didn't plan it that early, so they shouldn't have made this the solution. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Either Marlene was lying when she said she came up with this story, or two, she intentionally put Cece and Jason as exes.
Well, when did Cece and Jason, when was that plot line given to us in the show?
Cece wasn't until season 3.
Oh, so that was like after they would have.
That's according to Marlene's timeline. She would have already known about this.
I always gave like the benefit of the doubt that she came up with this after the fact.
No.
That's
not according to her.
That's absolute trash.
This is, it could also be, again, taking her at her word. On Just King Things, they talk about when Stephen King speaks to specific things about his life and how they've kind of like changed over the years. It usually they call it printing the legend, where it's like, it goes with the story that's like compelling. She could, I guess, be trying to do that here, but also then in hindsight, you're like, but wait, this is a really bad idea if you did plan this out.
Oh yeah, like if there's a narrative that you're trying to spin here, make it believable.
Yeah.
But obviously she wasn't good at that in the show, so.
And then she gives really pithy answers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think people were ready to see transgender on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I pulled those articles for you because I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it's messed up.
No, you gave bad representation.
Same BuzzFeed article. And then just to throw that in here too, the Vanessa Ray, who plays Cece, didn't find out until the table read for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, yeah, I tried to do as much research as possible in a short amount of time.
But I'm playing this really complex character all of a sudden when before I was just like a surface level mean girl.
Yeah.
And now I have to figure this all out in like a week.
Yeah. She tries to do it as nice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like... Cece says Radley knew she left, so they took away her out privileges. When Mona came in, it was great, because when she first came in, she was so drugged up, she thought it was Allison. Flashback. We see the scene where Mona says, I did everything you asked for, and we see that she was talking to Cece in a red bathrobe. It wasn't a red coat, but she thinks it's Allison. Cece then asks for details on all the girls. Still doesn't make sense. What did Allison ask Mona to do? Cece was bummed when Mona was off her meds, and so she stopped visiting her before the meds wore off. Oh, ridiculous. Cece made a deal with her. If she helped her get out of Radley, she would play the game with her. We see when Cece met the girls, and as she leaves the brew and looks at what looks like We see it's the actual scene from the episode where she meets them in the brew and then leaves the brew and then looks back in on the window to look at the girls. But it's a video literally placed in the video. It's the video and in an editor placed over the window.
Yeah, they didn't even edit them into the fucking window.
It's like the wrong proportions.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't even like.
Arya looks like Flat Stanley.
No. It's like, what are you doing?
I had one question about this episode that we're just gonna get out of the way now. What was the budget? Like,
they spent it all on the hologram in the white room.
but that wasn't good hologram or a white room.
No.
So I'm like, were their dresses so expensive they couldn't afford anything else? Like, what was the budget?
I guess if you're gonna spend it on something, do it on costuming.
But they they weren't like they had nice costumes all the time.
I don't know.
Like the prom was set up nicer than this part.
Yeah, absolutely. The prom looks great. Hourglass good. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It's just like, who would do this? Like that's something like
I could edit this.
Yeah, that'd be like, here you go, and be like,
He'd be like, oh yeah, some guy made that at home on
and
his.
you would think that a professional editor would look at that and be like, oh, well, like that's the wrong like resolution. Why is like Shay Mitchell thin? Like
a pencil.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, that sounded really bad.
She is
thin. I'm talking about that, like the wrong proportion where, yeah, she looks like a pencil.
She's a pencil, and then Arya's Flat Stanley, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Going on? Cece said Mona told me that the friends were happy you were gone, Allison, and it pissed me off. Mona's like, I don't remember anything about this, but someone kept sending me riddles, and I got excited about playing games again. Playing the game again. Cece saw someone in a red coat following the girls and knew it was Allison, so used the girls to lure her out by putting them in danger.
It also, this made me think, once again, like, I really hoped that with the Mona stuff, she was still tricking them, even when she was in Radley. Like, she was pretending. And so, like, to really solidify that, like, she was actually, like, having a psychotic episode, I guess. Like,
she's so drugged up that she can't see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And that she's like, oh, I just wanted to do the riddle. And I'm, like, it once again takes away from her character. Like, where you're like, oh, this is a really empowered, badass girl boss. And not that girl bosses can't have mental health issues. We all got mental health issues. But there's a huge difference between that and just saying, oh, she was crazy at the time. You know what I mean? Like, it just, once again, they use actual, like, mental health things, but they make them not what they actually are. And, like, they do poor representation, and they don't actually make it representation. It's an excuse. It's a scapegoat.
Exactly. It's like a way to, like, make sure that, oh, we want you to like Mona. So we're just going to make her not have any imperfections. We need to, like, smooth out anything that you might, like, ruffle people bad. She's a villain.
Yeah.
An anti-hero at best.
Yeah. She's doing her own thing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, like, I didn't really like you guys still, and, like, someone offered me to play the game.
Or, yeah, like, let her be obsessed with the game. Like, she just really likes to win.
Yeah.
And this is how she wins.
Yeah.
Because then it's like a fun foil for Spencer.
Totally.
Which they kind of do with her, but they kind of don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, yeah. They kind of, like, they completely dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Mona's just like, oh, I just come in, and... But they don't... Yeah. It's a bummer. So he saw someone in a red coat. The night of the cabin fire, Cece sent Sarah Harvey as Redcoat to lure them out and keep Mona busy. But then Shauna showed up and all hell broke loose. Cece realizes that Allison actually pulled. Wait, but this is also contradicted by I had written this down wrong, because then Marlene in her answers about who pulled the girls out of the fire is different. I'd written down that Cece realized that Allison actually pulled all the girls out of the fire, but she didn't. So we'll come back around to that. In the present, Allison asks if she cared about her. Why did she keep playing the game? Cece thought that after New York, it'd be the perfect time to end the game, but it's like a drug, so I had to keep playing it. Allison then rattles off a bunch of times Cece almost killed them, but Cece kept being like, well, they're alive, aren't they? I wasn't going to actually, like, kill them. What are you talking about? Jen turns to the camera and says she loved all her dolls and would never let something bad really happen to them. And it really sucks to kill someone even when they deserve it. Wilden found out, when Wilden found out Allison was alive. Flashback. We see the black veil at Wilden's funeral with Sarah and gets in a limo with Cece, and Sarah's like, yeah, Wilden's dead. And then in the present, Cece turns to the camera and says, "Sorry, Emily, but not really." And Spencer realizes Sarah never called Tanner. They try to find an escape when Spencer spots a different light pattern on one of the doors. Mona takes off her heel and pulls off the heel to reveal a spike and then smashes the glass. The four friends, minus Mona, leave as Mona's like, "Wait, I want to hear how this story ends." Cece came to say goodbye to Jessica, but found her dead. Cece and Allison hear motion alarms go off and Radley as the friends arrive. We see Sarah's the red coat setting up the timers for the bombs. A switch lights up as Cece goes to grab it, pushes the button, but nothing happens. We see the friends have Sarah against the wall and disarm the bomb. It's like, okay. Allison runs downstairs and tells them she's on the roof. Emily punches Sarah and they run to the roof as Cece hops down off the edge and says game over. They're like back onto the roof, not over the roof. Flash forward to Labor Day weekend. The girls pack their cars and Spencer is going to go to Georgetown. Emily goes to... We just move right on past this. They don't have enough time to like give us a capper on any of that. Sorry. Spencer is going to Georgetown. Emily's going to Pepperdine. Aria is going to school in Savannah. Sarah got released from the hospital that day that they heard about. Spencer quotes Winnie the Pooh on how hard it is to say goodbye. Allison is going to stay in Rosewood, wearing all her mom clothes. They all hug each other goodbye. 5 years later, we see a Rosewood classroom as Allison signs her name on the board as Mrs. Rollins. She married Henry Rollins. The other four friends run in saying that he's after Allison and they came back for her. So they all got to go. Spencer then runs in and says, "It's too late. He's already here." The end.
Okay.
Bum, bum, bum.
So we already talked through Mona knowing Clark was a cop. I wrote down bullet points to make sure we hit all the plot points.
Okay.
Charles has his own cell service. Well, now we know Cece had her own cell server at the Karasimi group. We're not going to ask any questions about that. We don't fucking know. We don't care. Cece is doing her own thing. She's a girl boss.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
We've already talked about A's really sadly non-high-tech lair and how it looks like a toaster.
It's so bad. Why? Why did you do it? I think there's just... the other thing about it that really bugs me is... that they put all the friends, all the main characters in a room to react to the show.
Yes, yeah, they're just sitting there. You know, like the two heckling Muppets.
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah. Oh, it looks like they didn't kill her good enough. Bah.
Exactly, and then you get Mona's occasional confession.
Yeah, and
I killed Bethany. Oops.
I didn't write that on the notes, but yeah, it's just them because like we'll get reaction to all of them being like, "Oh," or "Oh no, I can't believe that." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why are they not like involved? Because they needed someone. It's like they're supposed to be like the audience surrogate, and then like Cece's looking at it, being like, "Oh yeah, like well, you thought this, but actually it was this," and it's, I don't know. It's this weird thing of like them like almost like directly addressing the audience of like, "See, this is what happens. This is what happens. You thought it was this, but actually no, it was this. Here's all your answers."
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's a mess. It's so boring to watch.
Well, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. So, like, does it make sense for Mona to have hit Bethany if she thought this whole time she'd hit Allison? And remember how she helps Allison and then, like, gets her ready and helps her get out of town? So Mona literally tries to kill Allison in the yard, fails, and then is like, "I'm going to take her to a hotel room and help her." What the fuck?
Immediately, I feel bad. It was like, I should have done that.
Oopsie poopsie. We've already talked about the implications of Cece and Jason dating. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Is Cece their full sibling?
Yes.
Well, so not Jason's full sibling.
Oh no, not Jason's. Yeah, that's true. But I guess supposedly Allison. Yeah.
Why does Cece?
It's false. I forgot.
Jason.
Yeah, Peter. God. We don't see them the rest of the episode either.
They're just on the floor.
They're just passed out.
Well, eyes open. I don't know why I threw my head back. It's like I'm like eyes open.
I did the same thing. We're mostly just like, ugh. But there's just why? Why did you? Because they have this thing where they have to like answer every single like question. Like, here's the time that like Allison tripped on the road and actually that was like a trap by A. That it just, you have no room for any reactions to any of this.
Well, and also like, couldn't they have been normal answers? Like, couldn't it have just been, "Oh, you know, this happened," or like?
So it didn't need to be addressed.
Why did Cece introduce herself as Cece Drake to Jason. Just a random last name.
For Drake.
Yeah, why Drake?
I don't think we've met another Drake, have we?
I don't think so.
God, is this going to be something that we come back around to too? It's like goddamn, like, this is Star Wars Episode 1, like, levels of, like, we need to justify every single little thing that happens. See, Anakin knew C-3PO and R2-D2 when he was little. Isn't that funny?
You have no idea how bad this is gonna get.
Oh my god. You don't.
You have no, like.
I understand CC Drake. CD.
Okay.
You
and maybe that's why.
You take your dead name. Okay, let's hope that's just it.
Okay.
But my god.
My next note
Why?
is Cece conked Allison with the rock.
Okay,
I didn't need to write that down.
You didn't write it down. You thought it was pretty funny. She really does. And then Jessica's literally burying her in the backyard, and it's just like, damn it. It's so funny.
If Wilden went to go pick up Cece the night Jessica buried Allie in the backyard, why was Wilden ever looking into the girls for Allie's murder? Wouldn't they have known that something fishy happened there?
Yeah. What unless it's like Jessica's paying him on top of that to then go after
other
the
people.
girls.
Maybe.
Oh, the Wilden of it all is really starting to break my brain here.
Mm-hmm.
Because what he is investigating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, did he see Cece out and about?
Yes. Remember? And then she's accused of killing him. You know, it's a whole thing. But
yeah,
he saw her.
Which she did, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Cece being out and about, was Cece just like missing from Radley for like these like
large
days of at a time?
She was out a lot.
Well, remember too, she had a roommate in college.
She had a whole place, didn't she?
Yeah.
What was that?
How did she have an apartment and a roommate?
Okay, so I know this might contradict some of the things that we're talking about here. We don't need this answered. This can just be left.
But it shouldn't have ever happened to where we were asking this question is part of the issue.
Right. It's
when you write a plot hole and then instead of just fixing the things that created the plot hole, you instead try to come up with an answer for the plot hole, you end up in a worse spot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, if from the beginning they'd been like, "Oh man, we fucked up this character, and now we're gonna have to say Cece was released from Radley for good behavior at 20," you know, and then you could just be like, "Okay, this makes sense."
Right.
Why couldn't they have just said Cece at 18 was like, they were like, "Oh, we don't need to hold you anymore.
No.
You're free to go."
Right. I was let out on my own recognizance because
I just have to go to therapy or whatever. I was visiting when I met Mona. Like you could have still written that in. Also, so the whole time Mona was there, none of the girls saw Cece when they went to go visit Mona? No one saw Cece at Radley?
Apparently not. And then what was up with like Jessica getting a call
Spencer was at Radley? She didn't see Cece?
What was she doing? Just hiding away? She knew they were coming? Oh, God. Yeah. Right. That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I know the show has had a reputation for having plot holes like a mile wide. And I was like, there is stuff, but I never really took it quite seriously. But this episode probably single-handedly like opens the holes bigger.
And so, because that's what happens is you watch and you watch and you watch and they finally give you your info dump of answers and then you're like, none of those fucking work. It's like when you're trying to put something in a Tupperware and you open the cabinet and you've only got small lids and big bowls and you're like,
squeeze it in.
They're like, what if we just use 4 lids? And you're like, that doesn't fucking cover my thing. Where's the cling wrap? At least cover it with something.
Right. Oh, God.
I don't know why I'm using kitchen metaphors.
I like it, though. It works really well.
I'm just so glad we're finally here because I have wanted to yell these things for years.
I can understand why.
And I did bring up some of these things to you, and I won't hold it against you for not remembering.
When you're like, I told you about this.
Literally,
this is why I know about this. And I was like,
literally when we finished the episode, you were like, "Oh my gosh, like I can compare it to all these things," and I was like, "Yeah, you've done this before. We've had this conversation, baby."
You did this almost 10 years ago.
We might not have been super sober at the time. Like it could have been we had a few drinks, and I was like, "I'm going to tell you about the thing that I'm really upset about right now," and it is the television show I just finished.
I gotta tell you, most individual conversations from 10 years ago. No.
You don't remember every single word you've ever said?
No, I do
Suspicious. Me neither.
I already think of the words I do remember enough. Thank the Lord I don't remember all those.
Okay. Emily punches Sarah in the face.
Uh-huh. Good.
We love
cathartic.
That. What's going on with Sarah and Cece? And like, was the plan was Sarah supposed to blow up Radley? And was this a suicide thing for Cece and her family?
That's what I thought.
And okay. And so then the girls weren't supposed to be there. They were supposed to be at the Care See Me group. So they weren't going to die.
Yes. This is
and then Sarah's like, I was trying to save you. So Sarah was going to die.
Yeah. But why?
Why?
We don't know anything about Sarah.
No.
All we know is that we thought Sarah was locked up by Cece. So does she join Cece voluntarily?
And I still think she was because she had like the room down there and she was checking the things on the wall.
Right. So she's not. She was captured by
Stockholm
Cece.
syndrome.
Right. That's what I was worried about, but we don't even get enough of an explanation for me to be worried about it because you're just like, huh? It doesn't. And then again in the episode, it's just like, yeah, but all that's behind us. We're off to college. You don't even get any like wrap up on any of it. And it's just like, huh? I don't know any. Sarah doesn't make sense at all.
No.
We don't get anything about Sarah. She's 10 episodes. That's way too rushed. They should have like how they should have had to change plans. Because they're like, we had to move this up. It's like, oh, you probably shouldn't have done this piece. It's like they knew they had to have someone help Cece doing things because there's too many things like being like dragging bodies around. But also at the same time, they didn't do a good enough job of, she's just a way for an explanation.
Also, when you look at the two of them, you're not like, oh, those two people could drag 4 girls through the woods and not get caught.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
But they did.
Where will we all be after the time jump?
Oh, well, you're moving on to positive things. Maybe, hopefully.
Carry on.
You're like the optimism.
Where do you think they'll be?
Where will they be?
Who will they have been dating? Or like, what's going on?
So we can actually start with Allison. So Allison is now a teacher at Rosewood.
Mm-hmm.
And also writing on the board that she is Mrs. Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
So what was Lorenzo's last name? Was it Rollins?
I don't think so.
Well, we'll be getting someone named Rollins soon. I'm assuming some other fella. I don't know. So she got married.
Enough about Mr. Rollins.
And it's just sitting there. Wait, do you think it's Collins from Ravenswood?
Oh, no.
It was Caleb's uncle?
Jesus Christ.
Okay, we'll move it on from that. So I think we'll get like Arya had like dropped out of college or something and was doing like art stuff.
I think Arya's going to an art school.
Okay, she's doing an art school. She's doing our thing. She's doing okay. She did like extremely artsy things and was like really thriving in her like artsy community before when she gets like called back in. Spencer.
Who did she date
during that time?
She dates a known character.
Oh,
so other people might get randoms, but Arya dates a known character during this time.
Okay, Arya dates a known character. I'm trying to think. Who is left on the table? Who's even around?
Yeah, you can pull from anywhere because, like, I mean, they're a known character, but
right,
not necessarily like
a big time character or something.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Lucas?
No, but I love that. Really that can be your guess.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I think who else be around. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just drawing a huge blank. I'll have to come back around on this.
That's okay.
So Hannah and Caleb did move to New York, and like Hannah's living. I think Hannah is absolutely thriving. And is being like pulled back at like either doing like doing fashion or something, and is just like absolutely like living it up, doing great, and then is like annoyed that she's getting called back in and like with all her friends. They all didn't like keep up with each other. It's also the other thing. Like they're all going to be like getting pulled back together.
Okay.
Just like, oh, we like grew apart because we were doing our own things. That's what I think happened.
Okay.
Emily.
So Hannah and Caleb.
Yes,
are you lumping that?
Caleb.
Okay.
Yeah, Hannah and Caleb are still together.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Spencer and Toby are on the rocks again, because that's just like prototypical.
Like they've been happy for 20 seconds.
Exactly, and also that Spencer would have gone to a different school, and that would have like ruffled Toby, and then so because Toby's far away, as Spencer lives it up, and then like meets some guy at like school, and it's like is living her best like I'm like a young businesswoman life with my like businesswoman boyfriend. It's kind of like Veronica after the time jump, where she's got that like random guy and always wears a suit. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, on Riverdale.
Yeah, Riverdale.
I was like, her mom. I was like, well, her mom does
like,
actually.
How did you see this?
There actually is like a like her mom does a thing.
New man.
A new career path.
Oh, okay. So I think Spencer's doing her like young, high-powered businesswoman sort of thing.
Ashley also has a new career path. There's multiple new jobs.
Oh, I didn't even think of the moms.
You're gonna die, actually, at one of them. You're gonna absolutely fucking die.
You know, this is good, making me feel better about the show. It's like we got this exciting new path ahead of us of what the hell happened to everybody.
Some of it's gonna actually make you want to die, though.
Great.
Some of the relationship shit, you're gonna be like, no.
So then I'll say Emily. I think Emily's the one that probably dropped out of school, and was like doing like social work or something instead, like trying to like help out people, and is like has herself like a nice like artsy like girlfriend or something like that.
Okay, that seems very happy for Emily.
Yeah. Like she's like found her path, but like it wasn't like at school, and she like flamed out a little bit.
Okay.
Spencer is like too tightly wound to realize that she's unhappy. Hannah is the only one that is absolutely thriving, and then Arya is like got her art degree and is being like and is like kind of involved with like artsy people, but like is also doing that thing where people get their art degree and is like, okay, what the fuck do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
And is dating someone that I should know. Who is there? I already guessed Noel. There's Lucas. She's dating Ren?
No.
Okay. Ren. Who else is there? Oh, unless she's dating like a woman.
It's don't over that kind of representation.
Okay.
We have Emily. That's how the show feels. And Allison, question mark, sometimes.
Unless
Allison's our bisexual queen, but
that's true.
Unless she's just always been messing with Emily and we don't know.
It's a weird
That's kind of like that's what I think I really don't like about that is like that it doesn't seem like she has other earnest relationships with women, and which is fine. I mean, you know, bisexual people can date mostly men, mostly women. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's not about the quantities you get, but the way they portray that relationship is so problematic that you're like, was it all manipulation?
Totally.
And like you feel yucky.
It doesn't make me feel good about it.
It makes me feel yucky.
Who am I forgetting? Oh well. Let's come back around.
I think you're good. You got all the main girls, and you meant like for who Arya's dating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I got everybody.
You'll just I don't remember what episode we get that in, but you'll have to wait and see.
Okay. All right. Well, unless I can figure it out.
Who's coming for them? He's coming.
Someone's
just someone.
Truly, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't really remember why it's he's coming either, because like that doesn't fit into what I remember about what happened.
So again, that is the one thing I do remember is I remember you watching that last episode and what the reveal was.
Yeah, but the reveal, that doesn't work with the reveal.
Mm. So who?
Why are they all in town? What brought them there?
Supposedly someone coming after Allison.
Oh.
That's what I think. They said that we all came for you to help you.
Are the moms out of the basement?
We've got a whole little community down there.
They just live in the DeLaurentis basement. That's their career change. They all live in the basement.
They live in the basement now.
That's it. That's all I got for you.
Yeah. So, no theory corner this week because there's not really much for me to jump off of yet.
There isn't much of theory.
Other than a short pier. But, okay, so I do want to do the run through the article where Marlene King is being like, here's all the answers to all these things that we didn't answer in the finale for season 6. Who killed Ian? Ian killed himself, but Mona staged the note in the crime scene. He killed himself?
And Mona staged the note?
Why? Oh my god. Why after all that, like surviving and everything, he's like, nope, goodbye. Who was responsible for killing Garrett and putting Arya in a box with his dead body? Wilden. Garrett found out that Wilden was a dirty cop and was going to tell. Wilden was acting on his own.
That's it. The end.
Yep. Who shot Ezra when he showed up in New York to protect the liars? That was Shauna. I feel like we already knew that.
Yeah, we did know that, I think.
Yeah. Who killed Wilden? Cece. Who nearly killed Jason in the elevator in his father's apartment building? That's when we changed. That was Charlotte. Why does she change to Charlotte here? When Charlotte gets mad, she sometimes acts out in very strong and harsh ways. I don't think the intention was to kill Jason. It was definitely an impulsive act of revenge. She fucking drops an elevator on him.
Oh, it drops him in an elevator.
Jesus Christ. If Allison saved Hannah from Thornhill Lodge fire, who saved the other girls? Sarah Harvey. And the person who set the fire was Shauna.
Uh-huh.
Sarah? Why Sarah? Who drove?
So Shauna was helping Cece this whole time.
No. Because she said when Shauna showed up, that's when it all went to shit. Because Shauna was trying to kill them all.
Shauna was trying to kill them all.
It's the Sarah Harvey pulled them all out. Then I'm like, what? Who drove a car into Emily's house? That was Charlotte. But to quote Charlotte, nobody got hurt. Who kidnapped Emily, put her in a coffin, and changed her to a sawmill conveyor belt? That was Charlotte. The PLLs were getting close to discovering Charlotte's identity at the time, so that was a real listen to me kind of moment. Who blew up Toby's house? That was Charlotte. She was very mad. Laughs. But no one got hurt. She has perfect timing. She's a genius. Oh my god. Who was responsible for kidnapping Mona and faking her death? That was...
Yeah.
Who knocked Jenna unconscious and left her to drown? That was Charlotte because Jenna knew Allison was alive. That's something we have not discussed on the show, so that's totally new information. Why? It just becomes a list of that Cece did this. Whose body was in the barrel that the liars found in a storage unit and originally thought it was Mona's? Charlotte stole a cadaver from a medical school. But we didn't include that on the show. Who put snakes?
Also, how'd she steal a cadaver from a medical school?
Who put snakes in Spencer's dressing room? Oh, Charlotte.
Yeah,
Charlotte was very
there.
busy.
Cece was
Laughs.
there.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who put fingers bones in the girl's wedding dress at the fashion show? Charlotte. I think Charlotte wanted you to think they were Bethany's bones, but Charlotte has access to bodies and bones. Medical school corpses is what she has used occasionally on the show. I think Charlotte wanted you to think they were Bethany's bones. You wrote the show.
This is like when you read things from Stephanie Myers being like, Edward told me I had to do this. And I'm like, he's not real.
It's not me, the writer, to like guess what Cece's motivations were. I think Cece might have thought this. Who hit Bethany over the head? Oh yeah, we know that. That's Mona. Melissa buried Bethany alive, but Mona bashed her in the head with a shovel. Who hit Allison over the head? Charlotte thinks she was Bethany. Got that. Who left a message in Hannah's teeth? Charlotte. That was very invasive. Very creepy. Who murdered Jessica De Laurentiis? That is still a mystery. That's the one thing we don't solve when we give you all the other answers. But Charlie buried Mrs. D. That's it.
Well.
You just sent me that, and I was like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So,
we are where we are.
we are where we are.
We made it.
We did.
You made it through that episode.
Oh, okay. So now that I freaking know, what was the thing that it said Barry Maple? I didn't read the rest of the sentence.
I don't know. I didn't. You did. I still would wait because it might be revealed later.
Okay. All right.
I don't know, like, what
It said
the
it was
other.
a deleted scene, but let's not look at the rest of the characters.
Because I don't know
find something else.
what that might allude to in later stuff. I don't remember because I don't know what you read. I just remember the panic in my heart.
Mm-hmm. I stopped reading as soon as I read Cece's name, and I was like,
Okay. Well, now that you know, you're here.
Yeah, we can move on.org.
No, you can't.
Because you can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice with some prompting from my lovely wife. You can also, at Dead Ends, you can also find this on YouTube at dead_ends. And you can also send us emails if you'd like at deadendspcast@gmail.com, or leave a nice comment on the YouTube video. We like talking to people through there. And then, rate us 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, family about how much you enjoy the show, even when we don't enjoy the show.
We enjoy doing the show.
We do.
And
just unfortunately, it's like, okay, I got a lot of prep for this episode.
Yes, because the show didn't.
We think Cece would have done that.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. And we're still here. We're going to find out everything.
Even the things we didn't want to know. Especially
the things we didn't want to know. That is this show.
They only answer the questions you don't actually fucking care about.
Right. What molar did Cece put the note in? Oh, well, that was her, second to back one. Cece
went to medical school, or she's a dental hygienist in her free time when she's out of Radley, and she was pretending to go to school.
Well, Hannah got the cavity in that tooth from eating too much candy back when she was a little bigger in the earlier seasons.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
See you next time.